So hello students and viewers, how are you all? I hope all of you are fine and safe. This is your Arindam sir and you are watching Revision Learning. So students, in our last video we have discussed about the system of revenue collection by the British East India Company during the 18th century. Okay, under this we have discussed about the solutions to the problems that they found while collecting the revenue. The solution were the three systems or three settlements that the British imposed: permanent settlement, Mahalwari and Rayodwari settlement. Now under this we have only discussed about the permanent settlement or permanent land revenue system of Bengal. At the end of our video we have discussed why this system failed or what were the main drawbacks, you can say, of this particular system, as the zamindars brought many wastelands for the cultivation. Then the zamindars were mainly benefited more than the company. Lands were taken away from the peasants. As the revenue in this permanent settlement was fixed, in some places zamindars couldn't make the payment to the company in the scheduled time. Zamindars lost their zamindari and the cultivators found the system extremely oppressive. So today in this video we will discuss about the Mahalwari settlement, then we will discuss about the Rotwari settlement, and we will go to the cultivation of indigo in India. So these three topics we will discuss today. So without wasting any time, let's directly go to the Mahalwari settlement. Now, as this permanent settlement system was totally failed, or it failed completely, so a new system was developed by the British. The system's name was Mahalwari settlement. So this Mahalwari settlement, it got developed, or it was introduced in the year 1833. Okay, Mahalwari settlement or Mahalwari system was introduced in 1833 in the northwestern provinces of India, in the northwestern side, then in Punjab and also in the central provinces. Now, what was the main thing under this system? Now, under this system, the basic unit of revenue settlement was the village or mahal. Why the name was called Mahalwari? It's not Mahal means it's not a kingdom, or it's not a mahal of any king. Here Mahal means village. Okay, so under this system, the basic unit of revenue, the revenue was only connected from the village. Now earlier we have seen that the revenue was collected by the zamindars from the farmers and peasants. Here the revenue was not collected from the farmers or peasants, it was directly collected from village. Okay, and the British thought that the village is a great source of collecting revenue. Here, if they can find out the total number of land in a particular village, or how much land a particular village have, then from that area they can easily point out which peasants or which farmers have how many lands. Now based on that system they can easily find out, or they can easily set a new revenue system, a new revenue rules or policies, and under those policies that village have to abide, that village have to follow the new policies, and that entire village now have to pay the revenue. This system was called the Mahalwari system. Okay, now here the fourth point that I have written is, actually the third point I have written, the estimated revenue of each plot within a village was added up to calculate the revenue that each village, that is Mahal, will pay. Estimated revenue, one estimated revenue from each plot within a village, from each plot was calculated. An estimated revenue the British could make. How the estimated revenue was made? Or as I told you, because if the entire government knows that how much land they have in that particular area, then from every plot of that particular land they can easily find out the revenue, the estimated revenue. So like this, the estimated revenue from each plot within a village was added to calculate the revenue that each village will pay. Ultimately the total amount of the revenue was calculated, and this was said to the mahal or to the village that that particular village will pay this much amount of revenue. Okay, the main system, or the main thing of this particular system was that there was a direct dealings in between the village community and the government. no third party, no one, no other person, no farmers, no peasants. There was a direct dealing of the revenue was there in between the village community and the government. Now the village community, the village headman, in the village community, the village headman had the responsibility of paying the revenue to the company. In every village and in every village community there was a headman, and that it was the responsibility of the village headman to pay, to collect the revenue from the people, from his village people, and ultimately that village headman had to pay the revenue to the company. Now there might be a question in your mind that how revenue was collected or how revenue was fixed, because earlier in the permanent settlement we have seen that the amount of revenue was fixed permanently here, but ultimately the government got a huge loss, suffered a huge loss. So now in this case they have not fixed anything, but how the revenue was fixed or how the revenue was collected we will see now. Now to answer this question, the first point that I have written is that the government collector went from village to village for land inspection, measurement of fields, recorded the custom and rights of different mahals. So here government fixed one collector, and that particular collector went from village to village for land inspection, how much land that particular village had, measurement of the fields of every farmers, every man, every peasants, or every people, those who have their lands, those who have the fields. It was the measurement of those fields was done, recorded the rights and customs of every different village. Now here it was also recorded from every village the customs, how many, what are the rights or what type of customs that particular village follow, everything was recorded. Land inspection was done. Now in the second point I have written revenue amount was revised periodically, not fixed permanently. Now the British understood that if they fix the revenue amount like what they had done during the permanent settlement, then again they had to suffer huge loss. So to avoid that one, this time they said that the revenue amount will periodically, it will change, it will not be fixed, periodically it will be changed. Okay, this system, that is Mahalwari system or Mahalwari settlement, brought improvement in irrigation facility to the farmers or to the villagers, but the revenue collection system affected the poor people as always. Okay, so this was all about the Mahalwari settlement or Mahalwari system. This system also more or less it worked, more or less it failed. Okay, but ultimately this system was a good system according to the British. Now another system also they imposed or they had implemented, and that system's name was the Royatwari settlement. So now we will see about the Royatwari settlement. Now in the British territories in south, the Royatwari settlement was introduced. Now how British got the territories in south? This is the biggest question. The British got the territories in south after they defeated the Tipu Sultan. Okay, and after defeating the Tipu Sultan, British gained territories in the south. So as they gained territories, now again they also had to collect the taxes, because they got the power of Diwani rights they have got. Now as they are the Diwan, they got the Diwani rights as well as they got the territories in the southern side of the India. Now they will also impose that same revenue and same tax system, the Diwani rights, they will implement their Diwani rights in the southern Derby of the India also, as they were doing in the northern western side and in the central side and in the Bengal, Bihar, Orissa side. Okay, now in south there were no traditional zamindars. When British came, or when British occupied or when British got the territories in the southern side, they found that there were no traditional zamindars. So hence British have to make a settlement of revenue collection directly with the cultivators. So this was the problem. Now this time they found that there were no traditional zamindars. So this time what they had to do, they had to make a settlement of revenue collection directly with the cultivators, directly with the peasants, directly with the farmers. Okay. Now this system was also called as the Munro system. Why Munro system? Because Thomas Munro, the governor of Madras by that time, developed and introduced this system in the Madras provinces, means that is in the south. So that's why this system was also called as the Munro system, as this system was made by Thomas Munro. Now the question is why it is called the Royatwari system. Okay. Answer: ryots means small cultivators in South India or in South. Okay. So as this system directly dealt with the cultivators, directly there was dealing with the peasants, with the farmers, no zamindars, no village, no mahal. Okay, direct dealing from the in between the government and the cultivators. That's why this system was called as the ryot wari. Ryots, as I said, ryots means small cultivators in the south. So what were the main features of the ryot wari settlement? The main features were: number one, direct revenue collection from the cultivators. The British could direct collect the revenue from the cultivators, from the peasants, from the farmers. Point number two, or main features number two, peasants, that is ryots, were recognized as the proprietor of the land. So by this system, peasants were recognized as the proprietor of the land. Means a person who has the legal right to something. Okay, so legal right, the peasants also had their legal rights, because if they had their own land, after then only they can give their taxes to the government. Because if they don't have their own land, because it's in the south, it's not like Bengal and all where they got the rented land, like I said, in the permanent settlement. This time there was no rented system. They had their own land, they used to cultivate in their own land, they got some income. Finally, from that income they had to pay the revenue to the government. So as there was a dealings, or there was a direct dealing in between the government and the peasants, the company and the peasants, so that's why the peasants got recognized as the proprietor of the land, that is the person or the people who has the legal right to claim something. Okay. The third main feature was that the peasants were responsible for direct payment of land revenue to the government, to the company. Okay. Now this system also failed very soon. Why? The reasons for the failure of ryot wari settlement or Munro system, Munro settlement. Point number one, that it was not possible to collect the revenue in a systematic manner by the company. The company tried a lot, and initially the system was going in a smooth manner, but ultimately there was huge problem. As you can directly think that when the permanent settlement was done, before that also the government used, or the company used to take tax or take revenue from the poor peasants. But during that time when they suffered great economic loss, after that only the permanent settlement system was made. So if it was so easy, then why is the use of introducing new settlements or new systems? So at the initial stage this system got a smooth run, but ultimately in the course of time the company found it difficult to collect the revenue from in a systematic manner from the peasants, from the cultivators. The second point was that non-payment or delayed payment of revenue was found each and every time, and each and every time the company had to force, then only they could collect some revenue, or else there was a delayed in the payment, non-payment. Also some peasants or some cultivators used to skip their revenue and all, and these were the great problems that were found by the company in the southern Dermi, that is in the ryot wari settlement. So I hope that this ryot wari settlement is also clear to you all, like that of the Mahalwari settlement. Now we will see about the cultivation of indigo in India. Now suddenly from collecting revenue to the cultivation. How? So the British, after collecting revenue, the Britishers now focused on the crops. Why? The main reason I said earlier in my last video, that the British were basically the traders and they always wanted to do profit. So now they have seen that there was a huge profit in the collection of revenue. So as they have seen that from where this revenue were coming, the revenue were basically coming from the income of the peasants, and where the peasants are working in the agricultural field, in the crops and all. So if they now participate by themselves in the crops, if they now produce crops by themselves, if they now impose such rules or such laws and force the peasants, force the farmers to grow some crops according to their wish, then their income will be now double. Thinking that, or taking that into consideration, after collecting the revenue, which was a huge success for the Britishers now focused on the crops. Okay, the British during that time forced the countryside, means forced the Indians to provide the crops that was required in Europe, which had high demands. Those type of crops was forced by the British to the Indian cultivators to produce. Okay, and country focused on the cultivation of opium and indigo. Okay, these two are the things, opium and indigo. You can see the pictures of both I have given. So the Britishers forced the peasants, or they said to the peasants that you have to focus greatly on the cultivation of opium and indigo. So here basically in this chapter we will discuss about indigo. Okay, now the fourth point that I have written, that by mid 19th century British persuaded or forced cultivators in various parts of India to produce other crops. Why suddenly the British now came to the crops? The main question is the answer I will give you right now. Just let me read this point, that by the mid of 19th century, when it was the middle of 19th century, British persuaded, or either they initially, first of all they said, and afterwards when some of the peasants or some of the farmers refused to grow crops according to the Britishers' wish, then they forced the cultivators in various parts of India to produce other crops. For example, jute in Bengal, tea in Assam, sugarcane in Uttar Pradesh and Uttar provinces during that time, wheat in Punjab, cotton in Maharashtra, rice in Madras. Why Britishers suddenly focused on the crops? All answer is that because all went in the industries of Europe. Now in the European industry there might be a jute bag industry, from where they used to make bag from the jute. Then from tea they can pack it, they can make a packet tea and they can sell it to the entire Europe. Okay, so like this they were the traders and they were businessmen, and they thought like that only. So everything was available in India, everything, the jute, tea, sugar cane, rice, everything was produced in India, was cultivated in India. And that's why the British thought that if they force the peasants, then if they force the farmers, then they can get all the raw materials and they can take the raw materials to the industries of Europe, and there they can produce it, they can reconstruct it, and they can make a huge amount of profit by this business. So because of this reason, the Britishers, after the collection of revenue, they focused on the crops. Now we'll discuss about the cultivation of indigo in India. Okay, so what is indigo? Indigo is a crop. Earlier, blue color in prints was produced from a plant called indigo. We can see this type of blue color prints were taken from a plant. That plant's name was indigo. Okay, and nowadays you will find so many synthetic colors, synthetic blue colors, but at the initial stage, from this indigo plant only this blue color print was taken. Okay, now from indigo a blue dye was made, and high demand in Europe. It had a very high demand in Europe, this blue dye. Why this blue dye's demand was high in Europe? Because the Europe used to color their uniforms. Okay, used for this blue dye was used in Europe for coloring the blue sage uniforms owned by the British police, military personnel, hospital staffs, etc. So because of this reason, this blue dye the demand of blue dye was very high in Europe. So why the demand was high? Why they couldn't grow in this indigo there? There are some reasons, because indigo was very rare in Europe. Okay, another reason was that the textile industries, just now I said the industries were there in Europe. The textile industries also used indigo to make different types of clothes, to print different types of clothes with blue color. Also this blue color was introduced, or this blue color was used to make the uniforms of the British police and all. So because of these reasons, there was a huge demand of indigo. There is a huge demand of blue color dye. And as I said you that the indigo was very rare in Europe, and that's why the Britishers forced the Indian peasants, Indian farmers, to grow indigo in India, and gradually India became our biggest supplier of indigo in Europe. The entire indigo or entire blue dye made from indigo was supplied from India to Europe. The entire Europe, India just a country, and Europe the entire continent. I'm not talking about Britain or British or USA. I'm talking about the entire Europe. So only the India was a country. One country could supply the entire blue dye to the entire Europe. India gradually became the biggest supplier of indigo in the entire Europe. So in this video, we'll discuss up to this only. In our next video, we'll discuss about the problems that were faced by the Indian cultivators while the plantation of indigo in India. What are the problems faced by the Indian peasants or Indian cultivators while plantation of the indigo in India? And we'll also discuss about the Blue Rebellion and its aftermath. Okay, Blue Rebellion means the indigo rebellion. There was a revolt based on this indigo. We'll discuss this everything in details in our next video. So if you have any doubts or queries about our today's session, feel free to ask me in the comment section below. And till then, if you have liked my explanation, like this video, share it to your friends, and don't forget to subscribe Revision Learning and press the bell icon so that you never miss any of our videos and updates. Till then, take care, stay safe. Thank you.